not doing anything fancy for this video because I'm in a writing slump, and I have been since like October. Here is how theoretically I'm fixing it. So if you're in one of these, you can also do that. So I think I speak for everyone when I say that writing slumps suck. I think it's pretty much a given at this point. Nobody likes being in a slump or a funk, because why would you? I've noticed it's kind of funny because I find myself gravitating back towards YouTube in the days of my writing slump. So you can kind of tell it's not been going well because I've had a consistent upload schedule. I'm posting 2 videos this week. Who is she having time to edit
2 videos?
Don't know who she is, but she's uploading again, so hi. So I've made videos like this in the past. I'm sure they're all over the internet, these slump kind of videos. I'm in a writing slump, I'm sucking at writing, everything sucks, it's terrible. And usually my first step into solving any problem is like, why is this problem happening? For me, I've pinpointed 2 problems, sort of. The first is that I'm clearly was burnt out. I mean, what does that mean? I wrote 500,000 words last year and really didn't take any breaks. I pretty much wrote 3 books back to back to back, which some people can do with no problem. And I want to know your secret because what, how, where, when, what, why? Give me your secrets, please. If you can bang out books that fast without being burnt out, how do you do it? And the solution for getting out of your burnout is an unfortunate one. Because it's good old time, father time, mother time, non-binary deity time, whatever you want to say about time. It's just a waiting game until you don't feel like shit anymore. Sure, I've been doing things like internally, like prioritizing rest and not beating myself up, but the trump card to burnout is unfortunately patience, which I lack significantly. Creativity will return if you're dealing with a burnout. It will come back to you. And honestly, my writing got so much worse quality-wise when I was trying to push past the burnout and like pretend I didn't have it, and like the writing just went straight into a pit of lava. I feel like I'm kind of coming out of it now. It's been a couple months, I've been patient, I'm doing the things I should be doing, but you're in the throes of it. It's a tough world out there. The second problem that I'm running into is that I'm stuck in no man's land, and I've spoken about this in a vlog before. I've spoken about this a lot. One of my favorite authors, V.E. Jhove, speaks about this a lot, and it is that I truly don't have a project that I'm like fully passionately working on. So when I finished Invisible String in December, I had fully intended on jumping straight into working on New Romantics, which is like the theoretical next book. It's technically book 2 because Invisible String is book 5 / won't ever be published.
There's not going to be a swimming pool, you stupid slut.
And when I tried to write it, the words were awful, like so uninspired, so flat, so lifeless. Like I was like, okay, I need to take a break. And actually I was like forced into a break because my friends were like,
Katie, you are like really not okay. Go rest, ho.
I'm like, okay.
Alright, fine.
And when I say not okay, like I'm fine. Like this is not the end of the world. It's not a breakdown. Like it's just my identity and me are just really wrapped up in being a writer. And when I can't write or I feel like my writing is in the garbage, I get a little twitchy. But that's a topic for another video when I have more thought out things to say about it, because it's something else entirely. It's fine. It's not really super relevant to this current writing burnout, because it's actually kind of funny because I made a similar video about 2 years ago, right when I started my AuthorTube channel, like a couple months after I finished the first draft of The Wrath King. So at this point, I think it's more of just a cycle that I have to accept about my own creativity and my own creative lifestyle and journey and process. It is what it is, and I just have to live through it. And I've so far done that successfully. I had my mental breakdown where I was in utter despair that every single word that I wrote was so bad.
I should never write again.
I had that, you know, the drama of it all. We're out of that. It's also compounded by the fact that I'm still in the query trenches and I'm still getting rejections, which is never good for one's confidence, no matter how logical you can be about it. I can logically tell myself that like I'm getting rejected not because of the quality of my writing, but because of like the market or like a dozen other factors that might also play into why I'm getting rejections. Like logically I can know that, but like when you're already feeling like shit, the first thought in your brain is like, how did I get, like I'm getting rejections because I suck at writing. It's clearly the logical leap there. Oh my god, this man is so unserious. Love having tennis on in the corner. It's my entire life really. It's just tennis. I was trying to write through that because writing is my escape from all those stuff, but when it isn't working, really not a good combination for me personally. But I've made it through the worst of the burnout. Do not worry. Like I'm fine. I'm working through it as part of the process. Again, this is the cycle I will continue to go through. That's fine. So this is kind of about what you do when you're like emerging into the sunlight, out of the darkest night of the soul, if you will. And here is what I personally am doing to help me and how that relates to YouTube, which will be at the end. So the first thing is an obvious thing, and that is reading. Duh. I've actually been doing this since I started my official break in January. I've been reading a lot of audiobooks. I've been listening to a lot of historical romances, a lot of other romances. I've been having a great time with it. And like reading and absorbing these stories is ultimately going to be my best way to improve my own mental health about my writing and like feel like my writing is more inspired as if I'm inspired by other people's stories, you know? It's an interconnected circle. So that's been nice just to like enjoy reading again, because I can't bring myself to read with my eyeballs. I have to like listen to it, which is wild for me because I used to not be able to read audiobooks, but in my journey of rediscovering my love of writing, which is so dramatic for no reason, I've come to terms with the fact that I can listen to audiobooks as long as they're romance. I tried to listen to a fantasy audiobook and it just wasn't for me. The next thing is kind of obvious, and it kind of hit me when I was thinking about last year, and this is the idea of joyous writing. Last year I wrote Cruel Summer in about 60 odd days, and it was pure joy that drove me. Like that is, when I think back to what was driving me, it was pure joy. I wasn't thinking about whether it was good or worthy of working on. I was just writing it because it was fun. Was it perfect? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Revising was a nightmare. But it was a joyous and cathartic experience. I weirdly started to put pressure on myself in January when I was working on other projects to like try to like figure out what was the problem, when I was like basically like I need to put New Romantics away for a minute. Like I can work on something else. Like what do I need to do to fix the brain issue? Is it a me issue or was it a book issue? It turns out it was a me issue. So I started to put pressure on myself to create this lightning in a bottle scenario with this new secret project I was working on. It's very different because it's turning out to not be very easy to write, but we move. So I have to really focus and work on writing for joy, because good and worthy, like those are two very subjective experiences. What makes you happy is worth writing, and what makes you happy is usually pretty good writing. Like they coexist. This is my, like writing full-time is my dream. Being a writer, being a creator is my dream. That unfortunately gets twisted into like complicated knots, because part of me is like, I should be writing for an audience. Like I should be writing to get published. And I want to do that. Like I want to create things for others, but ultimately it creates pressure that is entirely internal, but still exists. And I think this is also tied into my want and craving for validation. For people to say, yeah, I like your story, I like your writing, it's fun and nice and great, which when I'm not writing anything, I can't get any of that. But if I'm not enjoying what I'm writing, I'm having a miserable time, and then even the validation doesn't outweigh that. It's a whole pressure cooker problem. So getting rid of pressure is much harder than I would have anticipated. So part of that complexity obviously goes into craving validation, which I was just talking about. The other thing is I like talking about my work. I like getting comments on it. I like creating this community and engagement. I like working through things verbally and talking about stuff and having a moment with all of y'all or anyone who wants to engage with me. And honestly, I just love complaining about the writing process. Like that is my main thing that I love doing. Unfortunately, this does create the issue of my artistic expression becoming much less fluid. I feel like I'm stuck with what I did say, even though that does seem kind of silly, but it's part of the mental game. It's part of the mental illness, isn't it?
Maybe she's born with it, or maybe, just maybe, it's mental illness, innit?
So what's the balance ultimately? How do I create joy, also a space to get validation and like create a community about writing, while also not having this extreme pressure internally on myself? And basically the answer is I'm going to still have my secret projects. I'm not going to talk about them much. I'm not going to vlog about them or make videos about them. This includes the soulmate books. Like I've talked a little bit about them, but like I'm not going to go in depth or make a lot of videos about them, even though I do have a video including them next week. It was supposed to be this week, but I got insecure and didn't want to edit that video, so now we're doing this. But I will be vlogging. Yay. If you watched my more recent videos that I've been posting, you might have seen that I put up a Eclipse project vlog. And I realized while editing that video and listening back to the things that I was saying, it was really helpful, like working on it verbally and like talking about the process and like reading excerpts and like letting this kind of project be more open and like not trying to find a balance between like, what can I say? What can't I say? Like, you know, like it was weird trying to find that balance. And I think if I open up to the Eclipse project, I won't feel the need to do that with other projects that I'm working on. So I am thinking of drafting the book this year, at least just something messy, something overwritten for sure, because it's me we're talking about, something that has word vomit and info dumping everywhere, something that's like not meant for publishing eyes. Essentially, it's just a passion project that I'm not putting the pressure of like being the book that I want out in the world at the moment, like letting it be just for like me and the AuthorTube community, which getting kind of meta like that does freak me out, so we're not going to talk about it. I can't take all credit for this idea because I've been really inspired by Rachel Wrights here on AuthorTube. I think she's a brilliant writer and I love listening to her talk and I love her style of vlog, and so I'm going to take inspiration from her videos, and I think I'm going to have like a little bit of a writing blog series inspired by her where I discuss working on the Eclipse project. I'm not thinking that the Eclipse project is going to get me a book deal or an agent unless it goes massively viral like Late Lark. And I don't think this will happen. I'm not holding my breath because the Eclipse project doesn't have marketable tropes like Late Lark did that sent it shooting straight into the stratosphere. So I'm like not trying for that. That's like not a goal or something I'm even thinking about. Like how I think I'd get a agent with the Eclipse project, because the fantasy market is so oversaturated and it's so difficult to publish adult fantasy. And of course all of this leads into a discussion about vulnerability and transparency, and I don't want to give out all of my writing, which is why I'm going to try to keep my soulmate ADU project stuff under wraps. I'm going to try not to talk about it too much. I'm also keeping my secret projects close to my chest because I don't want anyone to see them, basically, especially one that is so deeply embarrassing. I think if anyone looked at it, I would die immediately. So, but I do think as authors, we're always learning from each other. And I think by sharing who we are, what we're going through, and not having this like vagueness surrounding it can be helpful. I think by sharing details and excerpts, like whatever I'm comfortable with, or like whatever you want to share, whatever you're comfortable with, can be an interesting experience. Part of what else inspired this is my very good friend, Walissimo. She did an entire series about Tibifo, this book's for October, where she basically opened up her process completely, did all the spoilers, all the thoughts, everything you could ever think about with that book, and she was very happy doing it. I've talked to her a lot about it, and I think being more open will make me happier when it comes to a book that I'm not trying to get published. I can also talk more about things like craft and things that I've learned personally if I can actually like show what I'm doing, and maybe I'll have like more credibility. I don't know. I personally watch AuthorTube videos to get a sense of community and a sense of like engagement and feeling like I am a part of another writer's process. Like that's what I love about writing and about our community, and why I joined AuthorTube was because I want to be involved in the creative process. And so because I want to be involved in the creative process, I'm like, maybe other viewers, you will also want to be involved in that process with me. So I'm going to be pushing past my own insecurity, trying to be transparent and vulnerable with my process, at least with the Eclipse project. It's a big part of my channel. It's a big part of me. It's a big part of what I do on this channel. And I think ultimately opening it up with that will maybe make me happier in not only content making, but also in writing. For the most part, this is going to become a channel where I talk a lot about my writing process, which I was supposed to be doing all along, but I do think I kind of lost the brief on that a little bit. So if you want to see any of those things or be involved in this journey, you can subscribe. Nice little way to plug my channel here at the end. Hope all of your writing journeys are going well, and maybe some of this rambling nonsense helped you if you're also in a writing slump or struggling with writing and processing all of the things you're doing, because writing is a deeply internal and intimate experience. So some of it's scary. It's really scary, but we're gonna do it anyway because this is a year of bravery. It's kind of my like unofficial word for the year is like being brave about things, which I know this is so stupid. Like I'm literally so narcissistic and asking you to care about my project and then being like, I'm so brave. Like I don't usually expel these platitudes, but it's just, you know, this is kind of an off the cuff video. Wasn't supposed to be the one going up today, but I still wanted to post something today because I posted something on Tuesday instead of usual Thursday because I like doing it. I like posting videos. I like interacting with everyone in the comments. It's a really nice day out, so I'm gonna stop talking and go sit in the sun. I will see you guys in the next one.